Medical, Regulatory, and Pharmacovigilance, Dr. Cyrus Pasamba. He's actually here to bust myths, drop facts, and give us the real tea on obesity, what it is, what it isn't, and why empathy matters more than ever. Oh, and while he's presenting here, do get ready because we're going to have an interactive game after. Let's see how much we actually know versus what we think we know. So without further ado, Dr. Sai, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Cyrus. I'm the Senior Medical Manager for Novo Nordisk handling obesity and rare disease. I'm a medical oncologist by training, and I'm also a scope certified obesity expert. So what I want to talk to you about today is basically governing about, or will revolve around, obesity and the Filipino. So we'll talk about its impact to us, as a people, and we want to clarify the science behind obesity, as well as what are our options for obesity. So let's begin. So the first question that we want to answer is, what exactly is obesity? For the longest time, we always say that obesity is a lifestyle choice. It's a lifestyle disorder. Even the Department of Health used to say that it's a lifestyle disorder. That's one of the reasons. That's why we don't get any health support or reimbursements with regards to weight management. But then, if you look at the WHO definition for obesity, they define it actually as abnormal or excessive fat accumulation that may impair health. So there's a qualifier. So it doesn't just mean that you are fat, but it also means that you are fat to the point that it is affecting your life. And we'll talk more about that later on. The best way, at least the most convenient way to determine whether or not you're suffering from obesity or if you have a weight problem is by checking your BMI. So later on, if you have time, you can actually check your BMI outside, and there's someone who can help you see where you fall with regards to your BMI. So the BMI is basically computed by measuring your weight in kilos divided by your height in meters squared. Now, there are two main classifications that you can follow. First will be the international cutoffs. So this was set by the World Health Organization. So as you can see here, if you have a BMI of less than 18.5, you're considered as underweight. If you are 18.5 to 24.9, that is normal. If you are 25 to 29.9, that is considered overweight, or what is now currently being renamed as pre-obesity. And then if you hit the BMI of 30, that is now considered as obesity, and this can be subdivided into class 1, class 2, and class 3. However, experts have noted that for us Asians, there are some differences with regards to our genetics, physiology, and the way that we develop adiposity. And these are the reasons why they actually lowered the cutoffs for Asia. So this is following the latest 2022 clinical practice guidelines for the management of obesity. As you can see here, the main difference is overweight or pre-obesity is now from 23 to 24.9, and obesity starts with a BMI of 25. And it can be further subdivided into class 1, and this is those who have BMI of 25 to 29.9, and class 2 are those who have a BMI more than 30. Okay. So when we say there is abnormal or excessive accumulation of fat, there are actually two main areas by which your fat can accumulate, kung saan pwedeng mag-develop ng mga taba sa katawan. You have what you call your subcutaneous fat, this one. So that's basically the fat right underneath your skin. So basically, yan yung nagiging bilbil natin, or love handles, no? Those are subcutaneous fat. Then there's another type of fat which is found intraperitoneally within our organs. No? So it's underneath the muscle layer, and this is the one that encroaches dun sa internal organs natin. So yan yung taba na bumabalot sa atay, bumabalot sa ovaryo, no? Which and we call this visceral fat or visceral adiposity. Then, and there's a big reason why we are highlighting this difference. I'll show you this picture wherein there were two individuals. Actually, they are both doctors. No? One is a South Asian male, and one is a European male. Although the South Asian male actually looks thinner, smaller than the Western counterpart, but in reality, they actually had the same BMI. Both of them had a BMI of 22.3. No? But what was surprising here was that when they tested both individuals to check for their percent body fat, what was noted was that the supposedly who looks leaner, thinner Asian male actually had the higher body fat percentage at 21.2% as compared to the Western counterpart who had a body fat of only around 9.1%. And this is when they realized that phenotypically, meaning to say the way that we express obesity, we actually, Asians, actually accumulate visceral fat first. No? Meaning to say the fat is hidden. And that brings about the concept of thin outside but fat inside. Meaning to say, mukha kang payat, but in reality, nag-ipon ka na ng taba sa loob ng tiyan. Di ba? So, then this is different compared to our Western counterparts. No? Our Western counterparts, more often than not, they will accumulate more subcutaneous fat first, then visceral fat later. Now, just to highlight this is an MRI scan. So just to, for you to identify, the white areas are basically fat. No? So this picture A is actually Asian, picture B is actually a Western counterpart. Both of them have similar BMI, so they are similarly weighted, basically. But for Asians, what they notice is that there are more visceral fat. So the dark line here, the dark space here, is actually your muscles and your ribs, basically. So what you notice is that there's more fat beneath the muscle as compared to outside. So this is your subcutaneous fat, visceral fat. So there's more visceral fat than subcutaneous fat among Asians. And this is your Western counterpart. As you can see, there's a big chunk of subcutaneous fat here. So those are our love handles at the sides. And then there's lesser subcutaneous fat. And this is important because although both types of fat do have their own health risks, it's actually the visceral fat which is deadlier. Why? Primarily because it's the one that is associated with higher cardiovascular risk. Ibig sabihin, if you're wondering ano ba yung risk for you to have a heart attack or have a stroke, it is correlated to the amount of visceral fat that you have. So you might be wondering, no? You might be seeing friends, neighbors, or someone that you know, they're suddenly die or they might suddenly be hospitalized due to a heart attack or stroke, and you think, hindi naman siya mataba, bata pa siya. No? Bakit kaya? This may be one of the reasons. No? They are developing or accumulating visceral fat, and that's actually increasing the risk for heart attacks and strokes. No? So, what they've recommended is that for us Asians, we should not stick to BMI alone. Because BMI is not 100% proof screening tool. It will just tell you if you will fall between the categories of either pre-obesity or obesity. They actually recommend that we measure for waist circumference and waist to hip ratio, because these two will help us determine what we call those who have visceral adiposity. No? Kung sino ang may problema sa loob ng tiyan. This will help us determine who are those high-risk individuals that we need to at least help or save down the line. Alright. So, like I said, no, for a long time, obesity has been viewed as a lifestyle disorder. Sabi nila, pag ikaw ay may obesity, it's a lifestyle choice. Well, the question is, choice ba talaga siya? Do you actually choose to have obesity? Do you think may tao nag-decide, gusto kong maging mataba. Gusto kong magkaroon ng obesity. I don't think so. Diba? You can't actually choose it. Diba? And the question here is, over time, they realized, no, at least starting from the World Health Organization and followed by other world organizations as well, they decided that obesity actually is not just a disorder, it's a disease. It does fit the definition for a disease. In fact, they say that obesity is a chronic. So pag sinabing chronic, long-term, lifelong. So it's similar pag kunyari ikaw ay high blood, ikaw ay diabetes, di ba? It's lifelong. Once you have it for life. So may forever. Forever ang obesity, forever ang hypertension, forever ang diabetes. It's progressive, meaning to say, Meaning to say, if you don't do anything about it, it will become worse over time. It is relapsing. What does relapsing mean? Ibig sabihin, you can control it from one point in time, then babalik. So, we've always heard stories about a lot of people who've tried to lose weight, and yes, they may be successful for a period of time, but afterwards, they regain most of the weight back. And that's what we mean by relapsing. But it is treatable, meaning to say there are things that we can do to help them. It is multifactorial, meaning to say there are a lot of causes for obesity to happen. And they have neurobehavioral components, meaning to say the brain is largely involved in the development of obesity. And all of this would result in an increase in body fat that promotes adipose tissue dysfunction, abnormal fat mass, which will later on result into complications. Yeah. So to put it simple, this is our old view of obesity. We always say that it's an imbalance of energy intake and energy expenditure. So it's either ikaw ay matakaw or ikaw ay tamad. But we soon realize that that is not true. It's actually the brain that governs our weight. It's the brain that controls weight. There's a very interesting theory. They call it the weight set point theory. Other papers call it the metabolic set point theory. What they're saying here is that as we grow older, for example, once we hit adolescence, yung teenage years, before we hit adulthood, yung brain natin will set an ideal weight for us. And it may not be the same ideal weight that you are expecting. So you can compute for ideal weight. Diba? For example, I'm 5'6.5". My ideal weight should only be around 130 or 140 pounds. But my brain might not agree with me. Yeah? And this will refute the question whether obesity is a choice. Because definitely I can control my brain from pegging a higher weight set point. And what if my brain sets it at 200 pounds? Definitely it's way, way above, but that's what it believes should be my weight. And usually what affects this metabolic set point would be the hormones that are usually released by your adipose tissue, your pancreas, and your gut, by your genetics, whether you have a familial history of obesity, the medications that you take in, the environment that you live in, as well as the increased palatability of food. Siyempre, humans are kind of unique. We're one of the only animals who eat for pleasure. Diba? And that's the reason why we cook our food. Because we want food to taste good. Diba? Masarap kumain at masarap ang pagkain. Diba? So, like I've said, all of these will contribute to your brain in determining what is your metabolic set point or weight set point. But the sad part about it is that once your brain has set that weight set point for you, it will do anything and everything in its power to maintain that weight. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. Now, so once, let's say, obesity kicks in, what now happens? Why is it a disease? It's primarily because of complications. And when we say complications, if we look at the different journals that have been published over the years, proving that there is an association between obesity and a particular disease, what we've learned is that there's actually 229 plus complications all related to obesity. Meaning to say, obesity, if present, will increase the possibility of 229 other diseases. And some of them might not even be as obvious as you may think. But it affects almost every organ system and affects almost every medical specialty. So if you look at how complications can be categorized, they can be categorized into metabolic. So metabolic means it's a physiologic functioning ng katawan that includes your cardiovascular diseases such as stroke. This one, so alam natin, yes, mataas talaga association yan with obesity. Diabetes, yes. Thrombosis, gout, asthma. Ang asthma pala, obesity-related complication. No, although the presence of obesity does not increase the development of asthma, but it actually worsens the exacerbation. So, ibig sabihin, pag hinika yung pasyente na may asthma, na may obesity, usually mas malala. Fatty liver disease, gallstone, and even infertility. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a well-known associated complication of obesity. And cancers are also included. Complications can also be mechanical. So, pag sinabing mechanical, there's an anatomic defect. There's something wrong anatomically. There's a part of the body that is not working properly. No? So this include your joints, which can cause back pain and knee pain. It can include incontinence, no? Because of the pressure of the abdomen, hindi mapigilan ng pagdumi o pag-ihi. It could include sleep apnea, no? Sa kapal ng leeg, nahihirapan huminga pag natutulog. So these are all things that can affect physical functioning and the quality of life. But of course, there's another aspect which is important and should not be overlooked, and this would be mental health. No? So there are mental complications associated with obesity, which will be discussed later on. And this includes depression and anxiety. So this is usually common, especially, for example, just to make it more tangible, if you're working in an industry where your physical fitness matters, for example, you're a celebrity, or you're, let's say, working in the armed forces or in public service, wherein your physical fitness is a must. Living with obesity, for example, can help, usually lead to, let's say, what we call performance anxiety, and that can lead to depression. So that's just a simple example, but there are more. Now, the question that this brings is, should we worry? Ang Pilipinas ay a third world country, or a developing country, as they say. So obesity should not be a problem in the Philippines. Do you agree? No.
No.
Should it be a problem locally?
Yes.
It is. Why? One of the reasons why it is a problem is because there's usually a lack of awareness. A lack of awareness. Studies have shown that the average time by which a patient starts to have problems with their weight to the point that they seek consult with a doctor is roughly 6 years. 6 years. So, ibig sabihin, in between those 6 years, kadalasan, what do they usually do? Una, pwedeng in denial, pwedeng lang, it's because of holidays and whatnot. But then later on, as more and more complications start to manifest itself, they would usually try a lot of diet and exercise that they may learn from online or from their neighbors. They would try a lot of supplements until they come to the point that they realize na, hindi ko na kaya kontrolin on my own. I might need professional help, and that usually takes around 6 years. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why obesity is a problem locally. Another reason is because they experience weight-related bias or stigma. So as early as childhood, during the years that they are in school, I'm sure everybody here might have either experienced personally or witnessed, yung people calling little kids either taba-ching-ching, ganyan, or mga naiwan sa kusina, ganyan, or di ba? So we have all these pet names for children, and sometimes we think it's cute, but then until we realize later on that's actually affecting that child's self-esteem, to the point that they don't want to go to school, they're performing poorly academically, and that might actually hamper their development later on in life. So that could include development in terms of social and interpersonal relationships. Nahirapan sila makipagkaibigan, they become more introverted, and hindi sila makahanap ng life partner nila, because primarily because of how they look and feel. Then of course, as they enter into the workplace, even if they're working so hard, sometimes because of the misconceptions about obesity in the workplace, napagkakaman silang tamad, so that can affect, for example, promotions. So even if they're working the best that they can, they're sometimes bypassed from work. And of course, the complication of obesity can also help be associated with what we call absenteeism or presenteeism, regardless of how it's manifested. Then another place where bias and stigma is actually common is actually also in the healthcare setting. And in fact, most surveys show that this is the second highest place outside of the home. Home actually number 1, which is kind of funny. But then, second would be healthcare setting. So usually, when you go to the doctor, kadalasan mabilisan ang consult, di ba? Kasi time is precious sa mga doctors. So, if you tell them, Dok, masakit yung batok ko, sabi niya, ay, kasi taba mo kasi, magpapayat ka. Di ba? I mean, I'm sure you've heard that one point in time. Di ba? And then, sige, inom ka na lang nito ng kung ano mang gamot sa high blood. Di ba? Then, balik ka na lang. Magpapayat ka, ha? But then nobody talks to you seriously on how you want to achieve that weight loss. Kung paano ka magpapapayat ng tama. And that actually contributes to feelings of depression, low self-esteem, and poor body image. So again, going back, how big of a problem is obesity in the Philippines and among Filipinos? If we look at the latest 2023 National Nutrition Survey, which was presented in December last year,
we might think, ay, di naman pala big problem.